Is Nigeria quietly sliding into an ethnic cold war? The untold truth nobody wants to discuss. Nigeria is boiling, not from bullets or bombs, but from something far more dangerous. Suspicion. Suspicion between tribes. Suspicion between regions. Suspicion between communities that once lived side by side. And today, the biggest question shaking the nation is this. Is there an invisible ethnic war between Yoruba and Igbo? Or are Nigerians simply afraid to confront the truth about systemic imbalance? Because look at the pattern. On the day Nnamdi Kanu was sentenced, the judge was Yoruba, about 7 federal prosecutors were Yoruba, and the defendant, Igbo. The optics alone divided the country. And then the comparison. Sunday Igboho, who openly brandished a gun, confronted security forces, and vowed to create a Yoruba nation, is a free man. But Nnamdi Kanu, who never carried a gun, got life imprisonment. Coincidence or a deeper story? This afternoon, we go deeper. Let's start with the facts. Sunday Igboho appeared in multiple videos armed, challenged federal agencies, threatened to defend the Yoruba nation by any means necessary, fled the country, detained in Benin Republic, released, now appears on podcasts, events, and political gatherings freely. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, never caught with a weapon, arrested multiple times, dramatically extradited, tried and sentenced to life imprisonment. In any balanced democracy, the punishment must match the action. But here, the lighter actions got the heavier punishment, and the heavier actions got the lighter punishment. This is where Nigerian citizens started asking, is justice blind or is justice tribal? Even if the judiciary insists on neutrality, optics matter, symbolism matters, ethnic sensitivity matters. When a separatist from the East is tried by a judge from the West, prosecuted by lawyers from the West, during a period of heavy tribal tension, perception becomes reality. And the reality many Nigerians felt was, if the state wants to punish an Igbo man, Yoruba officials will handle it. But if the state wants to avoid punishing a Yoruba man, it will find excuses, fair or unfair. That perception has entered the national bloodstream. Nigeria's constitution introduced federal character to prevent exactly this kind of tension. But today, federal character is collapsing. Look at Tinubu's appointments. Entire Southeast, 5 states, 5 ministers. Ogun State alone, about 5 ministers and major federal posts. Think about that. A whole geopolitical zone receives the same level of federal power as one Yoruba state. Then look at customs, immigration, FIRS, major revenue boards, security chiefs, critical agencies. A worrying pattern emerges. Concentration, not distribution. Nobody is saying Yoruba people are the problem. The issue is where diversity disappears, suspicion grows. Now let's go to Lagos, Nigeria's melting pot. Since 2023, Lagos has become the symbol of ethnic mistrust. Igbo targeted voter intimidation during elections, viral videos of threats, attacks on polling units with heavy Igbo turnout, zero prosecutions, markets with heavy Igbo presence hit by demolitions. Nighttime market fires in predominantly Igbo areas. Evictions in Alaba, Ojo, Ajao, and Ladipo. Lagos State government said it was urban enforcement, but victims ask, why is enforcement always heavier where Igbo dominates economically? Whether real or not, the feeling of targeted destruction is spreading, and feelings drive nations, not official press releases. Look at the pattern in Nigeria media and policing. When northern youths block roads, youth unrests. When Yoruba activists mobilize, regional agitation. When Igbo groups protest, terrorism. Same actions, different labels, different consequences, and the government's responses follow the labels. Where it is called agitation, police negotiate. Where it is called terrorism, soldiers alive. This double standard fits the belief that the state fears Igbo activism more than others and punishes it more harshly. In Nigeria, Igbo economy is powerful but dangerously exposed. Igbos dominate electronics markets, building materials, motor parts, importation hubs, real estate in Lagos and Abuja. But because these investments are concentrated in regions they do not politically control, they become easy targets during political tension. Market fires, sudden demolitions, seizures, and harassment occur most frequently in areas where Igbos dominate commerce. Even if not intentional, the outcome feels targeted, and outcomes are what people react to. The Nigerian Civil War ended on paper in 1970, but emotionally, politically, and psychologically, it never fully healed. Post-war policies, no victor, no vanquished, yet abandoned property issues persisted. Igbo regions received the lowest federal investment for decades. Igbo political expression often treated as a threat. Military presence heavier in the east during crisis. So today, every demolition, every arrest, every appointment imbalance hits a historical nerve. It is not just about the event. It is about what the event reminds people of. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Nigeria is not officially in an ethnic war, but it is in an ethnic perception crisis. A crisis where one group feels overprotected, another feels overpunished, one feels politically favored, another feels politically excluded, one feels economically secured, another feels economically exposed. This is not about Yoruba versus Igbo. It is about Nigeria versus injustice, Nigeria versus imbalance, Nigeria versus selective enforcement. If we ignore the signs, today's perception can become tomorrow's conflict. So, Nigerians, here is the question we must confront honestly. Is all this just coincidence or a pattern that reveals the deep cracks in our system? Are these events isolated or events of selective justice? Is Nigeria truly one nation, or are we living in a silent, unspoken ethnic cold war? If a nation wants peace, it must treat its citizens equally. If a government wants unity, it must reflect diversity. If Nigerians want stability, we must tell the truth, even when it hurts. Because ignoring the truth does not build peace. It only postpones conflict. My question to you watching, what do you believe is happening in Nigeria today? Coincidence or bias? Justice or tribal politics? Equality or selective punishment? Let the debate begin.